It is never too late or too soon. It is when it is supposed to be. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you've never seen my face before, my name is Lauren. I am your resident intuitive baddie. And we're gonna talk about that line. Cause well, for one, I've been reading I had read a passage from this book a couple videos back, and I'm about halfway through the book now. I came across that line a few days ago, and I think I did mention it in another recent video, but I wanted to give it its own video because it has been so profound for me this week. I feel like that sentiment of it is only when it is supposed to be. I feel like a lot of us have heard this concept or understand it to a degree where whether you call it divine timing or um yeah, you're just like you just know that like everything happens for a reason, so every moment is the way it is for some reason. But I feel like while a lot of us know that, we forget about it a lot. And that can be said for a lot of things. I'm finding that there's a lot of there's a lot of phrases out there or concepts that we all know but we don't completely understand, or it hasn't had that moment where it clicked. And for me, that line has clicked. So again, that's why I want to make an entire video about it, because I think it's such a concept, but I feel like a lot of people would benefit from being able to really understand that line, because I feel like what it kind of alludes to is that you don't have to worry about the timing of things, because in retrospect everything happens when it's supposed to happen. And what we're doing when we are worrying about being too late or too soon when it comes to something is we're putting pressure, and we're taking ourselves outside of just being present by worrying about it. So I had actually already started recording this video, and I stopped and restarted because I did realize something. Because at first I was thinking about how, just like in the book, there is never a too late or too soon. And I was thinking about it from, I think this kind of relates to a more abstract thinking when it comes to how we live our lives and the concept of time. But I had realized that the reason why I feel like society has this kind of, I want to say, loose timeline set up for us. You know, there's a time where you finish school, you go to secondary school, or sorry, not secondary school, you know, like university or college, depending on where you're from. Then you get a job and you kind of start off with your career. If you know, you get married, have a kid, have kids, your career is established, you have a house. Like there's a loose timeline, I want to say, for that, or time frames that I guess we have ideas from being depicted from media, you know, like stories, books, and just how everyone else has done it are examples. And I think this is why I want to make another reason why I want to make a video about this, because I did have a conversation with a client that kind of alluded to this, and I think could be beneficial for a lot of people. So what I was trying to say earlier was I was going to say how this timeline is really fake, and at the end of the day, there is no real true blueprint for life. Everyone, if everybody were to treat life this way, that the book is alluding, or that line is alluding to, then I think we'd be less prone to making mistakes. Because for myself, if you have never really heard, if you haven't been following this channel long, and or like, again, like if this is the first time you're seeing me and you have no idea about my story or anything, one of the issues I'd say that I ran into was I was in a rush to get to specifically to be a mom. I do think I was in a rush to be a mom. I really, that was something that I wanted. And to be a mom, well, technically you don't need a partner, but I wanted the traditional life, right? That, there we go, traditional timeline. I wanted the traditional life. So I even remember in my early 20s that when it came to boys, it's like I was searching for who's my life partner. And as soon as I found somebody that I felt was, it doesn't, I don't want to sound mean, good enough for the role, I just kind of committed to that, and then I I, we dated for a very sizable amount of time. We got married, we had a child, and then I realized that while he was a great person and while he was a great father, he wasn't the partner that supported the version of myself that I knew I wanted to be and was meant to be. But at the same time, whenever I talk to anybody about the fact that I'm closer now to actually getting divorced, because a lot of people, what they're used to is if somebody's getting divorced, it's usually for toxic reasons, or like something extreme typically. But for me, it was just that I recognized this before. My bad, I had an alarm for a call, so we're back. But what I was saying was, I recognized that before it got to a point where I was resenting him, and it could get to that level of toxicity that I guess drives most people to wanting to separate or divorce from their partners. Um, but my point is that on an intentional level, I was definitely in a rush, and I wasn't in. I feel as though I I had that end goal in mind, and I even remember at the beginning of when we were dating telling him that I had a timeline, that I wanted a child by 30. So that meant we had to get married by about 28 to give us time, so that, or just enough time for me to be pregnant, and then, you know. And yeah, that's pretty much exactly how it happened. We got married at 27. I had my baby around 28, and then at 29 I was like, oh, this is not who I'm supposed to be with. Because, all right, well, I won't get into it because you can literally find the other video where I explain this. But at the same time, in retrospect, everything happened exactly when it was supposed to, because that relationship taught me a lot of things that will help me in the future, including, and it allowed me to heal certain things as well, because he was more nurturing. And it does give me a certain standard for my next partner, just now adding more things now adding more things, or it's one of those things where I feel like for a lot of us, most of us don't get it on the first try, and we should, like, it's silly to think that we can, because at the end of the day, you won't really know what you want until you encounter what you don't want, if that makes sense. And that takes going through life. And you don't have to just apply that to relationships. That can be extrapolated to career and such as well, because you can have dreams of having one career, but then until you actually get a feel for that career is when you'll know whether that's actually the right thing for you, or it's making you the it's giving you the life that you feel you should have. And I think a lot of us really cling on to some of these things, or think that it's like, think from this all or nothing kind of perspective, and that we have to get it right. I feel like a lot of us don't leave room to just kind of explore and see what's out there, and to start something and try it, and then to decide from then whether that is actually what we want. I think a lot of us really try to go through life perfectly, and I think that's the issue. I see it for I understand as well why this happens, especially for females, because the first time I was recording this, I had said something like, or I was saying that, yeah, there's no real too soon or too late. There's no real, I guess, deadline on things. Most of the things that we experience or attribute to the, like, for the traditional timeline is not real. Like, there's no, I feel like, unlike, actually, wait 1 second, because I'm thinking about, or what's coming to mind right now is, like, when my daughter was a baby, right? There's obviously like checkpoints for certain milestones, like around a certain age is when they should be walking and talking and stuff like that. And there's like general windows of time where that should be happening, and there does come a point where if it hasn't happened, then there's likely something wrong or something should be checked out, right? And I think you can kind of apply that here for females specifically, because on a biological level, there is a timeline, there is a clock for us. There is a certain window of time that is healthy for bearing children. And there is essentially a cutoff point where that is no longer an option. And if you want to experience that, if you want to have the experience of carrying a child, and further carrying a child by by a partner that you're going to be with and be committed to, then I think that's why a lot of us get trapped in trying to do things as quickly as possible and find that person as quickly as possible. Not but not necessarily because, I'm like, sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to articulate what I'm trying to say. I think what I'm saying is that is driven by the fear that if you don't find somebody quick enough, then you might miss out on that opportunity, or that experience rather, which I think is what it was for me. Because, yeah, I think a lot of us, I think it's reasonable that a lot of us have this fear that we'll miss out on certain experiences. But again, when you just kind of allow things to play out the way that they do, when you are not so focused on, am I going to make this deadline, then things kind of just fall into place when they're supposed to. But at the same time, I do believe, and I tell everybody this whenever I talk to, oh, did I already say this? Sorry. I have like, wait, did I already mention this? I think I did. that at the end of the day, I do believe that I don't believe that it was a mistake. I don't believe that there is such thing as a mistake, and that I went through that for specific reasons that I do partially know, because I do believe that I needed to become a mother before I was really able to understand that I could be a leader for others. And I do think being put in that position where I had to I had to decide if I was going to trust my intuition or if I was going to allow societal pressures to keep me in something that I knew I wasn't meant I had yeah, that I was outgrowing just because I didn't want to be judged. So, yeah, again, it kind of goes back to everything happens for a reason, and there's no such thing as a wrong time for something or doing something wrong at all, really. It's like we own we only think of it that way, or it only becomes that way because of how we think about it. And another example I'm kind of or analogy I'm kind of giving it or thinking about is you know when they say it's only awkward if you make it awkward? It's the same kind of concept, I want to say, where that label that we put for time, whether it's too late or too early for something, really only applies if we make it apply. And I don't know, you can think of I know that there's certain things that in a sense you can say there is a too late or where late or early applies, like if it's something with a set time, like you need to be here at this time for a job or an appointment, like that's something that was agreed upon and that you can judge from that sense. But I think I'm talking about something more abstract. I'm talking about a structure for life and when things should be coming into our lives. And at the end of the day, like the universe puts us through what we need to be put through when we need to be put through it. What the hell is that noise? One second. That was so odd. It sounded like there was some sort of animal at the door or something, but there's no animals here, so I don't know. Well, it wanted me to take myself out of the conversation for some reason. But I think what I mean to say is that at the end of the day, if you're being present, time doesn't matter. I think that's what I'm starting to really notice and understand. When we think about how long something's taking or whether whether we've missed an opportunity or a certain experience, I think I'm from personally, I think I'm getting more into the groove of, oh, if it didn't happen, it's not supposed to happen. Or if something happened, that was supposed to happen. And recognizing that I don't have to understand right then why something happened when it did or why something didn't happen when it did. And this came up with one of my clients the other day where I was saying that sometimes we judge a situation as to whether it's good or bad based on how we're feeling in that moment and how we understand it in the moment. But if I've learned anything, especially from that car break-in situation, which I can't remember if I updated on that. I think I did briefly in one of the other videos, but um I didn't make any official thing. But basically that car break-in led to a bridge of events or incidents, the Neville Goddard concept, where I was able to meet a business coach who genuinely just wants to help me and is going to definitely be the key to my success, because we've been working together every single day since I've met him. And what I mean is, at the time that my car got broken into, right? For most people would panic. Most people would have this kind of thinking of, why did this happen to me, or just like a negative lens on it, right? But immediately I just intrinsically have had the thought, or I've hardwired myself to believe that it was it that like it everything is happening for me. And in that, when that happened, I was like, hmm, something big is attached to this. And it proved to be right. But the thing is, because we are, as humans, right? We have this inherent need to know, and when and to make sense of things right away. And what I am starting to really understand and let go of is that I don't have to need to know now. And that's what I was explaining to my client, was that you can look at all these bad things in your life as bad, but you could also reframe it to, I don't know why those things happen to me now. Maybe I'm supposed to know when I'm 35 or when I'm 50. Maybe it will make sense and it will serve a purpose later. And I think if a lot of us thought more like that, we'd have an easier time being present and not ruminating on, one, how we could prevent bad things from happening. Because again, like, I think the takeaway is that it's all subjective. If you choose to look at it as bad, then you're emitting a frequency of negativity, and that's what you're also calling in more of. But if you choose to believe that it's good, regardless of why that might be, of knowing why that might be, you emit a frequency of positivity and you call in positivity. And going back to that car break-in example, the way that I see it is, yeah, if I had reacted the way that most people would, and I had just sulked and I just complained, and then handled it in a way where I suffered in silence, and if I was mad at the world about it, I would not have met that business coach. Yeah, like it's so simple, because I had gratitude for everybody that supported and helped me during that time, which led me to go to the Buddhist temple to express that gratitude to the higher powers that I feel connected to, which led me to meeting somebody who then I wanted to help move, and then I got to meet him. It's like that bridge of incidents. But I think it's, yeah, it all has to do with how I decided to look at it. I'm like, is there more? So if you haven't noticed, I think I when I make videos like this, where it's like me talking directly to the camera, I have two methods that I do this. I have stream of consciousness, which is basically what this is, and then I have a more structured approach, which has notes and stuff. And I'm trying to find my balance between the two, because what I find is, sometimes with a stream, like a video like this where it's stream of consciousness, I'm not entirely sure where to stop. It's like I just keep talking, and then I keep feeling like I just need to keep talking, and it's hard for me to find an end and to wrap up what it is that I'm trying to articulate. And I think it's because I haven't actually worked out what the message is. It's just something that I allowed to come through, as opposed to when I do have notes and it's more structured and I know that there are certain points I really want to get across and that I don't want to miss anything. Sometimes that can be a little too rigid. I find that I found with the last video I did, I had 4 pages of notes, and I still have this kind of like stop, start, stutter, filler words kind of thing that goes on when I do that. And I'm, again, trying to find a balance between the two, because I do think it's very important that the way that I deliver things is concise and that it flows well. But at the same time, I don't want to be so rigid that I feel like I'm supposed to be following, or where it feels like I'm following a script and that like I can't mess up. So, yeah, I don't know. That's just like an end thought. So, yeah, again, there's never too late. There is only when it is supposed to be. The more that you are present, the less you worry about the future and the past, you know? It's like you just have to you just have to worry about what is now. What is it, what can you do about it right now? If you can't do anything about it right now, it's not relevant. And it sounds simple, but it all takes reframing, and that reframing just comes with habit. So, yeah. Um if you would like help, one-on-one help with reframing how you see things and just needing a different perspective on how you look at things, book a session with me, because that is all I do. I like to bring the subconscious to the conscious and kind of map out why people think the way that they think and be that sounding board, because I think more than anything, that's what a lot of us need, is that we are so used to how we see things and how the people around us that we typically surround ourselves with, they typically think the same ways as us, right? So if you need a sounding board outside of your regular circle or just outside of yourself, please do hit me up. And even if you don't, I want to thank you for being here and for listening. Until next time.